This article was kind of an inspiration. This was like 10 years back by Mark Andreessen, who is an esteemed venture capitalist. He's on the board of Facebook, and he like back in the day he was also an amazing software engineer who built the first browser. And he wrote an article that why software is eating the world. That was like 2011, August 2011. And then his prediction was like in like next decade, software would be software would be responsible for many of the industries, not just technology, but in every aspect of our life. And his prediction, in a way, turned out to be true, because if you look at the market cap of the companies, ranked companies based on their market cap. You would see all the tech companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla, Facebook, TSMC, which makes the semiconductor chips, and Nvidia. So about like 8 out of 10 companies are purely driven by software and semiconductor technologies, and that in turn is driven by all the software engineers, which powers the technology. So in a way, you can easily say that the world today is driven by many of the software engineers, just like by myself. And I think it's kind of safe to say that next 10 years, it's hard to see that a trend kind of breaking from here, because more and more I see adoption of software engineering and all the technologies, and it's just continued to grow further. So a little bit about me. So my current job is at Netflix as a software engineer, and my primary responsibility is to build the software which runs on all the TV devices in the world. So, for example, all the smart TVs like Samsung, LG, Panasonic, like all the smart TVs where we have the Netflix app. I write the software which runs on that. Other devices include set-top boxes like Reliance Jio or Airtel boxes, and Fire Stick type of devices. So any TV devices which have the Netflix application, our team writes software on it. Um, Previously, I worked at Apple, building software which runs on their Apple Watch and iPod. And more specifically, like for example, the kind of work I did was implementing the algorithms which estimates the number of steps a person has taken, and like when you are running or walking outside, and distance using the accelerometer, gyroscope, like all the sensors, like use the sensors to generate the health data for the person. And my engineering background was bachelor's in technology from NIT Trichy. I was in 2003 to 2007 batch, and my major was in instrumentation and control engineering. And I did my master's from 2009 to 2010 from Carnegie Mellon in electrical and computer engineering. Um, I think characteristics of a good software engineer, I just wanted to write, just think about the things which makes a good software engineer. Uh, it's I think the first thing is you love to solve problems. I think that's the main characteristics of software engineering, because there are like times where there are like open-ended problems which you need to solve, and for a good software engineer, I think they have the drive to solve the problems. It can be even a smallest of things or to a biggest of some things. And then second thing is you enjoy learning. That's actually true in the field of software engineering, because things are changing all the time, and you have to adapt to new ways of doing things, or new technologies like new software language, or there's always things to learn. Then determined, enthusiastic, curious, being a team player. I think that's an important aspect, because you have to work. It's not a solo industry like maybe a doctor, or it's not a solo industry, because you have to depend on teams, and uh, being a good team player goes a long way. Like your communication, how you adapt in a team environment. I think that's a good characteristics to have. and in general interested in technology and building software that benefits people, because at end of the day you're writing code which helps to solve a problem and benefits people. So that's like the overall end goal. Then this slide is just about career paths in software. I think one thing I just wanted to make sure is software engineering is not just coding. There are like so many different domains within the software engineering. So um, maybe I had that notion that okay, software engineering is 100% coding all the time, and actually in my today's day-to-day job, coding might be like 20% of what I do. There's a lot of time I'm just reading the documentation, reading something or giving feedback on something or reviewing something or reviewing a code. So coding is not software engineering. There's like a lot more to it. There are fields like UI engineer, user experience engineer, test analyst, product owner. There's like plethora of domains within the field of software engineering. The fields of software engineering. So, like I said, like my area is pretty niche, like in a way that I write software for like a TV devices. So that has become my niche. Similarly, like there are like lots of niche within the software engineering. Um, this slide kind of covers it. Like machine learning is like a very uh, upcoming area, like game programming, VR, augmented reality. I mean, this field didn't even exist 10 years back. Security is a huge field. Artificial intelligence, DevOps is something new. Accessibility. So there is like always new and new fields which just comes up, and even the old fields stays. So essentially, there are like lots and lots of fields within the software engineering domain. And then similar to the fields, we have lots of different languages people write. So for example, in this, I know and I write C++. I know a little bit of Python, but all the other languages I don't even know anything about. So there is always lot and lot languages. And I mean, it's all about what problem you want to solve and then what space you are working on. So for example, if you are working on iOS programming, then obviously you need to know Swift and maybe some kind of Objective C, C++. If you're doing a backend programming, then Java is a good language or maybe a Go. So it's all dependent on what problem you're trying to solve. You you come up with the language. And this slide is just about a career path for a software engineer. Um, every company is different, but this is something I have seen. Like you are like a graduate engineer, and then from that, like junior to senior software engineer. So this is where I am personally at. Next goals would be like a become a tech lead or engineering manager, and eventually become a CTO. So this is kind of going into a career path where from becoming like doing an engineering or like any field, and then you end up with a career as a like you start as a software engineer, and then there's a lot to grow from like the your career ladder perspective.